Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to my channel. Um, Today, I'm doing a little bit different video, still pertaining to hunting. We did go on a hunt last week, couple hunts. Debbie and I, my wife and I, went the morning hunt, and we saw one doe and spooked her off. But I haven't been getting a lot of pictures on my Moultrie camera, my cell camera from out there. Part of the reason because I set up a new deer feeder, as I've said before, and it takes them. It's a not a gravity feeder. It's not a feeding station, so it is actually a electric feeder. So I've read that it takes deer a couple weeks probably to kind of get used to that being going off and being in there because it's big, it's new. But I haven't been getting any pictures, which is normal. So we went on a hunt the day after we set that, me and Liam did, and we literally sat there for hours and didn't see anything. I did see one right at the end of the hunt, but it didn't come close enough for me to get a shot at it, and I couldn't even tell if it was a doe or a buck. So today, while we were sitting out there that night, Liam had a couple questions about hunting and stuff, and I've had a couple other people in the past and here recently ask me about hunting stuff. And I kind of figure I've seen people do it before, and I kind of figure I'm going to give you guys like some of the tips that I've learned just by hunting myself. Now, most of these are probably going to pertain to ground hunting and blind hunting because I do not have a tree stand. I've always been kind of a big guy and a little bit over the weight limit for most tree stands, but since I've been losing weight and stuff like that, so I'm getting back down there. So I may be able to buy a tree stand later this year, maybe next season, set it up and see what happens. But yeah, I figured I'd give you guys a few tips. And like I said, this is just from my personal experience. Also, me watching other people, and just stuff that I've picked up over the years. So the first thing I want to say is thanks to all my new subscribers. I'm up to 9 now. Thank you guys for being there, and I've gotten a few comments, which is awesome to see. I love hearing and getting feedback and people encouraging me. That's awesome, and thank you guys. One of the first tips that I can give you about ground hunting is the time you get out there. Now, this is like my personal experience. I used to be the one getting up at like 3 o'clock in the morning, being out in the woods by 4 o'clock. And sometimes that does pay off, especially during the rut. Now, if you're going to go on a morning hunt and it's during the rut and you're wanting to get that big buck, chances are better if you go at like 4 o'clock in the morning and sit out there for 3.5 hours before daylight, because that way any scent that you track in there, because no matter how much we try with washing our clothes in scent killer, spraying us down with scent killer, everything like that, putting deer urine on our boots, yes, that helps immensely with masking our smell. But deer have like the weirdest and most strongest sense of smell. So, I mean, if there is even a bit of your scent besides the scent killer on you, they will smell it. I mean, it's ridiculous. Now, I mean, I will say there have been times that I have been directly downwind of deer and they haven't spooked off, and I wasn't even wearing scent killer. So, I mean, it's kind of a situational thing. I guess, it's hit or miss. It's pure luck on that part. But what I was gonna say is like the time of day. Normally, when I'm going hunting in the mornings, sunrise here in Oklahoma, like right now, is about 7:30. So we usually now I don't like show up like 10 minutes before sunrise. Now there have been times that I've done that and still had success. So the only thing about that is the later you get out there, the more chances you have to wait longer. So, I mean, say you're going to work. I mean, I know a lot of people who go to hunt right before they go to work. So, say they have to be at work at noon. I've done this before where I have to be at work at noon, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'll go on a morning hunt that morning. But those are the mornings that I do get out there. So, if I get out there, like I said, Oklahoma right now, sunrise it's about 7:30 in the morning. So normally whenever we go on a morning hunt, we usually get out there by 6 o'clock. So about an hour and a half before daylight. Now in Oklahoma, like I said, legal sunrise or actual sunrise in Oklahoma would be like 7:35. In Oklahoma, you're allowed to shoot up to 30 minutes before, as long as you can clearly identify your target. I don't think it necessarily says so long as you can clearly identify your target, but I mean, that's kind of a rule of thumb. You always want to make sure that you can clearly identify what you're shooting at and if there's a good backstop. Now, I mean, if you're in the middle of the woods shooting a bow, the house 2.5 miles away, you don't have to worry about that. But I mean, if you're shooting a rifle, you always want to make sure you know what's beyond and behind your target. So that's one thing. The time of day. Now, like I said, this is just from my personal experience. I've realized that we don't have to get up, before, I don't have to get up at 2 o'clock in the morning and leave the house because I have about a 45-minute drive to my hunting grounds. So I don't have to get up at 3 o'clock and leave by, I don't have to get up at 2 and leave by 3 to get there by 4:30. Now, a lot of places I've seen people still do that. And I'm not saying that's not a good thing. Like I said, during the rut, especially, it's good to get out there as early as you can. But I mean, even during the rut, I have been out there, like an hour before daybreak and still. So, but I will say this, like the later you get out there, the longer you usually have to sit before deer come in there. So, I mean, say you get out there, like right now, it's pre-rut. I don't even think it's pre-rut. I mean, it's before the rut right now in Oklahoma. So bow season, I think black powder season starts next week. So we're fixing to go into the rifle seasons and stuff. But and that would be considered kind of pre-rut. We're getting close to the rut, but whenever we do that, we get out there. If we go on a morning hunt, we leave the house by like 5, and we're out there by 5:45, and we're in the blind by now. That's another thing too. You got to remember how far you have to walk. So I mean, that has to go into your commute. So like whenever we had like a 20-minute drive, we'd get up at 5 and we'd leave by 5:30, get there by 6, and then but we would still have like a 10 or 15-minute drive. So we had to really think about that and factor that into our thing. So now we only have like a 5-minute walk from where we park to drive, in there and stuff. So I mean, like I can get there at 5:45 in the morning and be in my deer blind by 6, no later than 6. So I mean, usually what we do is we'll leave about 5 and get there by 6, and then we're in set up and everything like that. The main reason you want to get there when it's still kind of dark is like, yes, even though deer can see a lot better in the dark than we can, if you're in a deer blind or you're in a tree and say you're filming hunts like I am, or you're moving around, you can kind of get away with a little bit more movement because, and sound. I mean, you want to be quiet when going in, even if it's dark, because if you make a whole bunch of noise around deer, they're going to spook off. And even though they may not know that it was you making the noise, they didn't see you or smell you, they may be cautious when coming back into that area, or they may just avoid that whole area the whole time. So you want to treat it as if they can still see you when you're going in there anyway. Using a red flashlight, red tinge flashlight going in there, or I use a flashlight on low setting, like a dimmer setting, and I will hold it against my chest or something like that and illuminate and just walk, as far as I can. And then, like illuminate what's in front of me, and then I see how far to go and what's in front of me, and then I cover up the light and I walk that length, and then I do it again and walk, so, and that's just something that I do. I mean, get you one of those little hat lights that has the red light on it and the tracking light and stuff, and you go in there. But I mean, or you just use a flashlight, I'm not saying you have to do these things. This is just what I do. But next, like I said, so getting out there early is a good rule of thumb, but I've found that you don't have to go out there at 4 o'clock in the morning and sit there for 4 hours before, there's been times I've gone out there an hour and a half before daylight, got my tree, my deer blinder sat on the ground, got it all set up. And now if you're sitting on the ground, I'll get to that in a second anyway. I get settled and everything, get my bow ready and stuff. And then still at like 7:30 in the morning, right at sunrise, deer still come in there. So yeah, that's me. Now I'm not saying During the rut, you got to remember that deer are more on high alert and they're more skittish. So, yeah. So if you're wanting to get out there, so yeah, we get out there a little bit earlier during the rut. So we may go out there an hour before that. So we're getting out there by 5:30, and sitting there for a couple hours. So I mean, yeah, it's kind of the time of the year and situational. Next tip I can give you with ground hunting. If you're sitting on the ground, sitting on a bucket in the middle of the forest, like leaning up against a tree, stuff like that. When you get out there early, if you're especially in the morning, and you know where you're going to hunt, clear off your area of dead leaves, sticks, anything you can. Just kind of kick it around. The one thing that I've learned is, and from watching other people too, deer may think that that's another buck or another deer clearing that off, so you can kind of get away with it. Don't go out there and like scream and holler and stuff like that. But yeah, you want to clear that all around, so when you're sitting there and it starts getting daylight and you have to move because your legs are going to go numb or go to sleep, you won't make as much noise. And when you move, make your movement small and methodical. That's one thing I can definitely tell you. I guess that'd be tip 3. Whenever you move in a ground blind, tree stand, anything, make your moves small, methodical, especially if you're exposed, especially on the ground. I mean, ground blinds and tree stands, you can kind of get away with a little bit more movement, especially if it's like a rainy day. You can get away with a little more noise. But if you're sitting on the ground, leaning up against a tree, make your movement small, methodical, and try not to, try to erase as much movement as you can. So that would be tip 3, I guess. Tip 4, when you are in a deer blind, I know it's awesome to have the best camo. I love having the best camo too. Now, I will say the best thing I can definitely tell you is ditch that when you're in a deer blind. Not all of it. I mean, you can wear the pants and stuff like that. But I would say if you're going to hunt out of a deer blind, your face mask, get you a face mask, because especially if you're my complexion, this stands out in the woods. Trust me. Hat, face mask, or hood, shirt, all need to be black. You want to create to where they're basically just seeing a shadow, and they don't know what you are. So when you're sitting in that deer blind, most of the inside of deer blinds is black. So best thing I can tell you to do is ditch the camo shirt, hat, mask, gloves for black ones. I'm not saying don't have the camo. I mean, and I'm not saying you can't wear the camo in a deer blind. I do still, but I still, like I said, from here up, is what I worry about most. So, with that, I mean, I do wear a black shirt or a black hoodie, but I will switch out my face mask, which I do have face mask, a black face mask, and I do have camo ones, but the black one that I really love, I'm going to give a shout out here to Kendall Gray. I'm part of the Gray Gang on one of the first hunting channels that I ever subscribed to many years ago, like 4 or 5 years ago. And he has some merchandise and stuff, and I bought a lot of his merchandise, and it is great merchandise. I think he's out of Kentucky, so he makes some good winter stuff. It's a little colder there than it is here. He's up in the mountains, so he makes some good stuff. If you want to go over and check him out, his name's Kendall Gray. Not 100% sure. I know he's got like 2 or 3 channels, but his main channel is Kendall Gray. So you might check him out. It's not very expensive, and it's good quality for being as cheap as it is, which what blew my mind. I mean, you can go to Bass Pro or Walmart and buy things that are almost the same price, and they will fall apart after one season. The face mask that I have from Kendall Gray is going on its 3rd or 4th season, and it's still strong. Elasticity, everything, because it's a neck garter with a face mask. You pull it up over your face. And as big as my head is and my neck is, yeah, I mean, it's still, the elasticity and everything still works. Now, I'm not saying you'll have to buy that, but I mean, if you're looking for good quality products at not like the outstanding, like high price, Kendall Gray is awesome. And you should check out his channel. He's a funny guy and he does great videos. Now we'll say another guy that I'll give another shout out. He doesn't have any product that I know of yet, but his name is Braden Price, but he has a lot of little tips and stuff, and he's a funny guy. Him and Kendall have done some videos together. Very funny. So check those guys out. Kendall Gray, Braden Price. Awesome, guys. Now, that's one thing though. When you're in a deer blind, is you want to ditch the camo for black. It helps hide you more. Now, when you're up in a tree or sitting on the ground, you want that camo. Then you know, I'm not saying you can't wear a black face mask, but the rest of your body probably needs to be in camo. Like I said, that way you look like a tree or a bush or a shrub, you know, shrubbery. But when you're in a deer blind, it's more better to have black. And I found that out a couple of years ago, and I've been hunting a deer blind for like 10 years, and I was always wearing camo, and the guy come up and told me, yeah, you should switch it out for black, and this is why. I was like, so, yeah. So I guess that's what, tip 4? Tip 5, I guess, when you are and this one is really important to remember for me, and you have to train yourself to kind of do this and remind yourself to do it all the time. When you're in a deer blind or you're just hunting in general, when you're looking through the woods, do not look for deer. Right? Sounds ridiculous, stupid. I get it. No, it does sound ridiculous, but it's not. Reason I say that is because we, as our brain, we're going out there and we're looking. We're like, okay, I'm looking for deer. So if your brain and eyes are focused solely on looking for deer, your brain is going to it's going to trick your eyes. Basically what I mean by that, especially in low light situations, early in the morning, late in the afternoon, late towards the evening, towards the end of the hunting day, every stick and shadow that you see is going to look like a deer. And your brain is going to create deer shape. Just like when you're looking at clouds when you're a little kid and you're creating animals or shapes or whatever in the clouds, it's the same thing. You're going to create deer shapes. You know, your eyes are going to create deer shapes and your brain's going to be like, oh, and you're going to be focused on that one spot thinking, I know I saw a deer there, when you really didn't. It was the shadow and the light just playing tricks on you like a mirage. So the best thing I can tell you to do, and this is number 1, I think it's tip 5, but number 1, very most important for you, is to look for movement. Train your eyes to not focus on one point, but you kind of scan and use your whole peripheral and everything, and you're looking for movement. When you train your eyes and your brain to look for any side of movement, you will be amazed how much you see. I'm not joking. The other day, I mean, and I always have to, and it is hard to remember that. So at times, like I said, I'm out there and I'm so focused, and you know, hey, it's like, oh, daybreak, and usually deer come right into the feeder right at daybreak. So you're automatically looking for deer, you know, but you have to remember just to relax, you know, sit back, open your eyes, widen them out, just kind of scan. You're scanning back and forth, and you're just looking for any sign of movement. And you would be surprised, oh, I just saw that twig move. And you look over, okay, squirrel. You know, so when you're looking for movement, and that's, you know, squirrels will mess with you, and raccoons, and yeah, bobcats, everything coming through there, they will mess with you, but they can rattle a tree almost just as much as a deer can, amazingly enough, right? But it's one thing I can tell you to do is look for movement, not for deer. You'll be surprised how much movement you see if you just sit there and you think, okay, look for movement, don't look for deer, because you are going to trick your eye. Your brain will trick your eyes into thinking you see deer everywhere. So look for movement. That's one thing I can definitely tell you. Other than that, those are like my top 5, top 6 deer tips that I can really give you. Just remember to keep your movements methodical, whether you're in a tree stand, on the ground, or even in a deer blind. Like I said, you have a little bit, check your wind, everything like that. Even in a deer blind, you can kind of get away with the wrong wind sometimes. But if you're going in there and you know your deer blind is in the wrong setup for that wind, pile on the scent killer a little bit more, and you maybe hang one of those scent bombs. I have scent bombs that you can buy at Walmart or Amazon or anything like that. You just fill it up with doe estrus or buck urine, stuff like that you can buy at Walmart or anywhere. Another thing too, there's another one. Sorry, I'll go back to that. So I fill up those little buck bombs, and if the wind is wrong, I will hang one up inside my deer blind, like on the outside, like just find you a little piece. I have like this, it's like steel wire, but it's like hunters, outdoorsman stuff, and it's like a really stiff, but it works and it holds like up to like 10 pounds. I got it sent to me last year. Um, so or find a little twig or a piece of string or something like that and tie it on the inside of your deer blind and then hang it on the outside. That way, and I hang one in the back and I hang one in the front of my deer blind. So that way, with that wind is coming through. So they may not spook as much. And that, like I said, that's just my opinion. I honestly don't know if that's doing anything good for me, but I've still had the wrong wind and still had good success by doing that. And I think it helped cover my scent. I mean, I laid on the scent killer a little bit heavier, the field spray, and then I hung those first thing when I got there. So yeah, another thing too, I guess I'll give you one more tip about deer blind hunting. Only expose as much light as you need. You want to keep it in your deer blind. You want to keep it as dark as you can, so all they're seeing is blackness, because they can see a few different colors. They can see blue really well, apparently. So, but I know a ton of people who still go hunting in blue jeans. So, but yeah, only open like if you're gonna take a shot, you say, okay, this is the shot that I'm gonna take out this front window, because that's where the feeder is. Open that front window, but only open it as far as you need it for your bow, rifle, whatever. Keep the side windows and the back windows closed. If it has back windows, some deer blinds don't have 360 windows. So yeah, keep it as dark as you can inside your deer blind. Best thing I can tell you to do. That way, you can kind of move around and they can't really see you. All they're seeing is blackness. So that's a few tips that I got for you. Like I said, if you guys want to know anything else, let me know in the comment section. I've been hunting. I just have a few of my own, personal experiences that I figured I'd share with you guys. So if you guys want to know anything else, let me know. Let me know in the comments, and I will respond to it. I will make another video, or I'll send you, a message back on YouTube or something like that. Just let me know what you want to know, and I will find out the answers for you. Or if I have the answer, I'll give it to you right away. So, like I said, I'm waiting for the deer to get used to that deer feeder out there, and then we're going to get back out in the woods and we're going to kill some deer. So stay tuned, guys. Have a good day.